Hello. Hello, my friends. How are you? I hope you are having a magical day today. I'm fine. It is about 500 degrees today, and it has been for the last couple of days, and I think I have sweat off at least 2 layers of my epidermis, so it's been great. It's been great. I've really been embracing this, like, swamp troll vibe. I just have not been able to stop sweating or like sleep. I hate the heat because I live in a very, very old house and there's no AC, so in the summer it's apocalyptic. And what makes it better is that all of the windows are painted shut. Yeah. Isn't that just cute? It's super cute. It's been a fun couple of days. So today's video, we're going to do a bit of a paint and chat about a sensitive topic, dealing with mental health. I had a mental health journey and some recent realization that I've come to that has made me feel a lot of feelings. Lots of feelings. I'm going to try and keep it light and bubbly and airy. Get into it. We're going to be discussing a realization that I am fairly certain that I have OCD. And I want to keep in mind, I have not yet been diagnosed by a professional. I have not seen a therapist, and they've provided me this diagnosis. I want to speak to somebody about this when I have better health insurance so that I can afford to be able to do that. This is more of just having several people in my life present the idea of OCD and me doing more research into it and realizing, oh, a lot of things seem to correlate. But yeah, just wanted to preface, I have not been properly diagnosed and I don't want this to like take away from people who do have a proper diagnosis. So let's dive right in. I have always had really bad anxiety ever since I was a kid. My first panic attack I was like 8 years old. I grew up religious, no longer am, and it was around the time that we were talking about the idea of death, and I was really starting to process this. And then the existential dread just sunk its dark, pointed claws into me, and I started freaking out, and for like years, I kept having panic attacks, not knowing why, not being able to put a name to them. But yeah, I was always a very anxious child, and I think I just felt like a lot of things in my life growing up were just very much out of control. And then my anxiety would come out in terms of like germophobia and contamination, even things like poison ivy or ticks. Huge triggers for me growing up for whatever reason. And even still now, I get so like paralyzed with anxiety over going on hikes because of poison ivy, because I'm like, if I get poison ivy, I'll get a rash and then it'll get into my mouth or my eyes and I'll go blind, or it'll get into my bloodstream and I'll die in a horrible, painful death. And it'll just like, the cycle of thoughts just keep spiraling out of control for no reason. Why does the brain do this? Can I just ask, what is the purpose of this? What is it? Why does it do this? Anyway, it ebbed and flowed as the years went by, and as I got into adulthood, it got really, really bad. So to describe the symptoms a bit of what I was dealing with and what I still currently am dealing with is, it's not just like, oh, I just like to Purell my hands after I come in from grocery shopping. Like, no. And it's not like a consistent thing, because like someone could have the flu and cough open mouth next to me and I'll be like, that's disgusting and annoying, but it won't trigger anything. But if you tell me that you have like toenail fungus or whatever, I don't want you in my house. My heart will start racing, my chest will tighten, I'll just have these spinning, racing thoughts of like, you're in trouble, you're dying, you're contaminated, you're impure, and it just like keeps going and going and going. And like, there's nothing wrong with having that. It's not like a judgment thing. It's just like my whole body tenses in. I'm like, oh my God, it's unsafe. There's just like this uncontrollable contamination just like everywhere, and I don't know what to do with it. And it means like, if it's in contact with me, then I am unsafe and my home is unsafe and everything around me is unsafe. And to handle those things, I would do certain things to make my anxiety or my thoughts stop that I just thought were like, you know, these silly little quirky habits. Like during times of particularly bad episodes of anxiety, if I felt contaminated, I would throw away my clothes, or I would douse them in like vinegar or Pine Sol, or I would run my hands underwater in soap like dozens of times until I felt like I was able to breathe again, because I wasn't able to breathe because I wasn't able to like function because I felt so dirty. And more recently, my hypervigilance around what I consider contaminations has gotten significantly worse. And in recent episodes, it's gotten so bad that regular soap and water doesn't feel clean enough for me. And I had been spraying, I don't want to talk about it. There's so much shame. I have been spraying bleach directly onto my skin, and I know that that's bad. I know that that's bad. I know that's bad. I know that's really, 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 really bad. But it's gotten to the point where normal soap does not feel clean enough to help me. So it's gotten to that level, as well as for a full year, I would have a little towel set up next to my bed where when I first wake up in the morning, I would put my feet on that and I would scuttle around the room like a demented penguin to get all the things that I needed for the day until I would put socks on, because I couldn't have my bare feet touch the floor because the floor in my mind was contaminated and I could not touch it, because if I touched it, then I would be unsafe and I would have to immediately go through whatever habit, ritual, whatever thing that I needed to do in order to make myself feel safe, which is bonkers, which I know is bonkers, but I didn't see anything wrong with it. These were just things that like developed slowly over time that I didn't recognize were problems while it was happening. I just thought that I just had these things that I did, and I didn't think anything of it until fairly recently. I have two good friends, both of whom have OCD, and earlier this year, I was talking to one of my friends, and this is the conversation that kind of sparked me looking into OCD, and we're having conversations about anxiety and whatnot, and I was mentioning to them like my habits that I would do, and my friend looked at me and it was like, that sounds like OCD to me, and I was like, oh my god, no, you're so silly, no, of course not, me, OCD. What are you talking about? I'm fine. Everything's fine. And I just brushed it off because I'm like, oh, that's stupid. No, because in my head, I always just thought OCD was like, okay, you're anxious, you have to like count all the tiles, or you like things really, really organized. But I just never thought that that was me because I didn't really have an understanding of what it actually was. So I just brushed it off. But the seed of the idea was planted somewhere deep within the bowels of my empty mind. And I then fast forward to last month, I had one of my oldest friends come and stay over with me, and that proved to be quite an eye-opening experience. As soon as I got into my bedroom, because they were staying with me in my room, I felt immediately uneasy because I'm like thinking like, okay, they were on an airplane and they were around all these people, and what did they bring? And oh, they're walking barefoot all over my room, and okay, they stepped there, they stepped here, I have to make sure that I don't do this, and when they're away, I will Lysol everything. Like, I was automatically set to high alert, and my mind was calculating everything that they were touching, everything that they were doing, everything that they were, everywhere they were going, and making sure I had to do everything in my mind to make sure that I wasn't contaminating myself from them. Not that I was like, they're dirty, but like, it was just my mind saying that I was unsafe. There are these unknown pathogens and things are out of your control, and it's in your space, and you are out of control in your own space. And it was freaking me out, but I didn't know why it was freaking me out. I just knew that I was uneasy. And as the week went on, we had a great time, but then there was one day where we had gone on like a hike in the morning. We were driving for hours. We were really, really hot and sweaty. And we got home, and they were like, hey, do you mind if I could just like relax on your bed for a second? And my whole body recoiled because I don't, just in general, I don't like outside clothes on my bed. I don't like outside shoes in my room. I don't like the idea of wearing sneakers around the house. That's just a me thing. But we were hot, we were sweaty. Oh God, when they asked if they could lie on my bed, I did kind of snap. I was like, absolutely not. No, unless you take a shower, you cannot lay on my bed. I'm sorry. And I probably said it much more curt than I meant to. And then we had a bit of a hard conversation. And I eventually, in the conversation, like, I could see that they were annoyed. And I just immediately broke down because I'm like, I'm sorry that I'm making you feel uncomfortable. I don't know how to control this. I don't know why I'm like this. I don't know why these things make me so unbearably anxious that I feel like I'm dying, and I was just like sobbing, and then I was expressing to them like, the bleach thing, the fact that I can't touch my floor with my bare feet because I feel like it's dirty. And they looked at me and was like, honey, that really sounds like OCD to me. And I just remember having like a big aha, like glass shattering moment of like, oh wow, you know what? I think this is a lot more than I thought it was. And I think I need a lot more help than I thought that I needed. And I just started crying even more. And I felt so much shame because I was like, great, I have another thing wrong with me. But I also felt so much shame because my anxiety was affecting somebody else. And that was probably the worst part of it for me, was that I could tell that I was annoying somebody and I didn't know how to control this. It sucks to feel like I'm rough to be around because of this. But we had a great conversation. They made me feel really, really loved and supported, and it ended well. But that was the conversation that really got me thinking like, okay, this is where we're at, and I think we really need help. It's hard accepting that something that you might be dealing with might be worse than what you thought it was, but understanding this more has really made me feel a lot more compassion for myself. But yeah, just a big realization time. I think it's hard when you are neurodivergent and you have mental health problems that it's so easy to feel shame, and that's the big thing that I want to learn for myself and impart to anybody else. I hope that any one of you out there who's dealing with something like this doesn't feel any kind of shame. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.